Welcome to Asian Like Me, presented by me, Dr. Sohee Jun, the podcast for the modern Asian woman redefining what it means to thrive. I've spent years navigating the complexities of culture, family expectations, and career ambitions. Here, we have real, unfiltered conversations with incredible women who are breaking barriers, charting their own paths, and owning their power. Together, we'll dive into the wins, the lessons, and the challenges we all face. And yeah, we'll laugh. We'll share stories and drop some actionable tips to help you crush it in your own way. This is your space to feel seen, heard, and inspired. Ready to rewrite the rules? Let's drop in. Hi, Lorraine.
Hi.
So we were just getting all excited about it being Friday and being in conversation together. I'm super excited to have you on.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, so let's start with that question of what's currently lighting you up?
I have to say, I'm getting a lot of reader feedback right now around my new book, and that has been just like warms my heart every day. I think one of the most nerve-wracking parts too, like publishing a book, you're waiting for the people you don't know to give you feedback, not just like your friends and family who have to say nice things. And people are saying nice things. So I'm like, yes, I'm so glad this is helping people.
Oh my gosh, I love that because it's very affirming, right? For something that I took it as a very vulnerable experience. The two books that I wrote were the combination of lived experience and your book as well. And it can be a very vulnerable thing. So I imagine, and I know, to get feedback like that is very affirming.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
All right, so your book, for the listeners, I was telling Lorraine before we started recording that I was doing one of the exercises around personal branding. And the book has so much, and what I really love is when a book is super practical. And yours is certainly that. So I want to ask around, go back for me as you were percolating on a book. And who was that avatar? Because as authors, we go through that exercise. Who's the avatar? Who's the person? Yeah. And so who was your avatar as you were thinking about and writing this book?
My avatar was really my younger self, mid-career, ambitious, wanting to keep growing, learning, advancing in a company, but feeling a little bit stuck, a little bit overlooked, and not really sure how to get to that next level, because it's a different set of skills than what got you there. And so that's the hope with this book, is to help people in similar situations really learn how to stand out, be visible, own their presence.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about presence being a combination of where you are and just also the virtual world too that we are navigating in. So I absolutely deeply appreciated that because it's so relevant, especially since the pandemic. I think a lot of people have asked that. When you mentioned that in your own career you felt stuck, what was that feeling? Like, get under the hood of that for me. Like, how did you start thinking like, wow, I'm not advancing fast enough? Or...
Yeah. So I start off with a story in the intro of the book about my time at LinkedIn. And so I was a founding editor at LinkedIn. I was there for 6 years during most of my formative 20s. And it's an amazing place to work. I also worked on really interesting projects, high priority projects. My coworkers liked me. I liked my coworkers. And so on paper, by all accounts, you would think, oh yeah, like she's loyal, she does great work, people like her, like it seems I should get promoted or I should continue advancing in the organization. And 1 year after I joined LinkedIn, so I joined as a junior early career employee, 1 year after I got promoted. And I was like, great, like I'm moving on up. But after that first promotion, the next 5 years, did not get promoted, could not figure out how to get promoted, was really frustrated that I knew I had all this potential in me, and I was like, I know I'm doing great work and I know I can do great big things and be a leader at this company and manage and help uplift like the future generation of talent and all these things, but I just wasn't given the opportunity because I think I wasn't being smart about my career, honestly, and thinking about it in the right way. I made certain assumptions like, oh yeah, I'm working hard, that should do it. Oh, I've been here for a while, that should do it. But yeah, it takes so much more to be able to advance and for people to see you the way that you want to be seen or need to be seen to get into those kinds of positions.
Yeah, I love the two things that you said, the way you want to be seen, which is all about intentionality, and the other part, you want to be seen and
To be seen a certain way to be able to get into a higher level position.
yeah, the need to be seen. Those are really distinct, and also it's just interesting because there's so many different layers and strategies around that. So 5 years in your work and you're like, I'm not moving up. Did you communicate? I'm just curious. Were you telling people that you wanted to get promoted or take on more?
I think I wasn't doing it in the best way though. So I definitely mentioned it a few times. To me, I'm like, oh, mentioning it should make it happen at some point. So there's like the first part where I didn't even realize that it was important to mention it. So that was a lesson learned, that you have to make it known. And then even after you make it known, it's not enough to say, I want this, but you have to understand, okay, it's not just my manager who's advocating for me or like deciding my promotion. There's a committee of people figuring it out. And who are those people? And I should talk to them and make it clear so they can also hopefully advocate for me. And what skills do I need to demonstrate, or how can I present my annual reviews or my promotion case to put myself in the best position to get that role. So there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, and certainly earlier than the actual promotion decision. And I wasn't doing as much of that. I was like making it, I mentioned that I wanted it, but I wasn't taking the steps that sort of build up to that.
You know, what you mentioned about there's so much that leads to that is so true. And it's one of the things to like first be aware, do you want that for yourself? And then that step between do you want it and how to advocate is so tricky, especially for, as you know, and me too, Asian females, and really I think all females, and probably men too. It just shows up differently, I think, in the workplace. And you talk a lot about how growing up Chinese American, there were some things you had to undo. And I know that story intimately too, because it took me a long time. What were the things that you started to then do differently?
The change really happened after I left LinkedIn. I think sometimes you have to get out of a situation to just like refresh and reset. So you're kind of like pushing. You're like, it's not working. You're frustrated. And then I ended up leaving. I had this other really cool opportunity at a company called Prezi where I could take everything I learned at LinkedIn and apply it there. But I had to take some moment to self-reflect, right? And it's like, what wasn't working there? And what do I want to do differently now that I have this fresh start? And so a lot of it really was around mindset and just understanding like, hey, I have to just like to be more proactive. I have to be more intentional. I talk about becoming the CEO of your career a lot in the book. And so that concept of things should not just be happening to you. Like you can make things happen. You can influence certain outcomes. And so how can I be a lot more targeted and intentional in this new role? And so that was a big part of it, just the mindset piece, which I see you're excited about it. So
of course, yes.
I want to hear you.
Oh my gosh, Lorraine. Anytime I hear somebody talk about that a change happened because they tapped into their mindset, it was like magic for me when I really started to lock into that for myself, and even defining like what is mindset and then what is my own, and really getting curious about that and how it shapes how you see things and then how you show up. It's exactly what you're talking about. A lot of things jumped out with what you shared in that you needed to leave the situation to really reset, which I think is so valuable many times. You know, I like to say to my kids sometimes that things need to break for you to reform things. And it sounds like that was true for you from LinkedIn to Prezi. By the way, I love Prezi stuff. I love LinkedIn too, but Prezi is like very tactile and you can create things.
Sure. Yeah.
And you were intentional about creating a different brand. So what were some of the steps? And I know it's in your book, Unforgettable Presence, but what can you share with us that you think is really key?
The first thing that I found really helpful, so I have a lot of frameworks in the book. I love a good framework. And so I have the EPIC Career Brand Framework. And so those are 4 considerations to think through as you are thinking about, okay, what is my brand? And so EPIC stands for experiences, personality, identity, and community. And experiences, we all have personal and professional life experiences that have made us who we are today. Personality, some of us might be more serious, introverted, extroverted, the team culture champion leader. We may have specific soft skills that make us who we are. Figure out what that is for you. I'm introverted, I talk about it a lot. identity, which can be your cultural values. It can also be the values you operate by in a workplace and what people can expect and what they will know you for. If they're working with you, Sohee, they know you're going to be responsive, great to work with, all these things. So
all true.
And then all true, of course. I haven't known you that long, but I can already tell. Yeah. And then and then the C, community, which is what a lot of people forget about, because you might think, oh, okay, this is my brand. But if your community, your network is not seeing you in the way that you see yourself, well, that's a disconnect and an indication, I think, to dig a little bit deeper to see where is the gap and how can you connect the gap. Or maybe the brand you want for yourself is a little bit too far ahead and you need to scale it back a little bit and sort of advance over time. And so, yeah, those are the 4 steps to start thinking about. And then I think also, and you showed me the paper that you did, the exercise from the book, but thinking through, how do people see me? Ask around, get some adjectives, your manager, your cross-functional stakeholders, your peers. And that can be very eye-opening, right? We don't usually reflect on these things, or I know I certainly didn't. If I had, I would have recognized, oh, okay, people see me as hardworking, I do things quickly, executor, which is great at certain points in your career. But if you want to be seen as a leader, strategic, visionary, connector of dots, those are things that people see as the leader. And if I had recognized that there's that missing piece at disconnect, I would have known to shift gears to get to that point, but I didn't, unfortunately, at the time.
Yeah. 360s, I'm an organizational psychologist by trade and do the coaching with my clients. And so 360s and feedback is such a core piece of anyone's growth. And if they haven't done it, it can be very eye-opening. And one of the funny things that I will never forget is this phrase that was tossed around a lot when I was in the corporate world, that feedback is a gift. And yes, ultimately, but sometimes it's like painful. You're like, whoa, I didn't realize. And so what you're talking about is the understanding the plus deltas, which is another phrase of, okay, where am I strong and what's the gap? And I love intentionally saying what's the gap, because it helps you know that there are things that you can do to fill the gap versus where do I suck and where are my weaknesses, which I think words are so powerful.
Yeah, very true.
Talk to me more about the introverted part, because you said yourself that you're an introvert. So what are the upsides of that, and how do you manage that in this very extroverted world?
I know. Sometimes it feels like corporate is just built for the extroverts, right?
Yes.
Do you feel like you're introverted or extroverted?
I'm an ambivert. I love that question.
Okay.
It took me a while to realize I can turn it on and be extroverted, but I need so much downtime to get my energy back.
Yeah, 100%.
You too?
Yeah, I feel like I'm introverted, but then maybe a little bit more on the ambivert. I don't know. It depends on the day, right? But all this book launch stuff, I feel like, is maybe more introverted. So I'm like, I need to decompress because I'm just talking to more people than I'm used to.
Oh, by the way, after a book launch, I've never been so depleted. Like, I just wanted to go into my own cave. Do you feel that?
Oh, yeah. But I'm still going right now. But I'm like, I have vacation next week, I think, finally. I'm like, that's going to be much needed.
Yes. The book launch is a great example of managing your introversion.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, so to answer your question, introverts have a lot of superpowers, and I really want them to know that. And that's also why I wanted to talk about introvert experiences in the book, because it can feel like, oh, it's just like the extroverts who get heard or the extroverts who get noticed. But when you can find out or understand what your strengths are, superpowers are, I think it really opens up the possibilities. And so, for example, introverts are really good at connecting one-on-one and building those relationships. And oh my gosh, that's super hard to do, much harder to do now virtually. But now you have this superpower, and work and productivity and just fun at work is built on relationships and promotions and whether you get assigned that project. So to be able to be that person to connect more deeply with others, I think that's very powerful. Mm-hmm. Another one that comes to mind, introverts are very impressive public speakers, which I feel like sometimes are like, people are like, that feels a little bit
contradictory.
Not quite what you would think, but introverts are really thoughtful, they're prepared, they're empathetic, they understand the audience, they're good at connecting, and so it's a more controlled way versus just speaking on the fly somewhere. But a prepared public presentation, I think, is a very important thing for introverts to consider, to be able to be visible on your terms and to be able to practice and prep and get feedback from folks to figure out how to present yourself and present the content in the best light. There's many others, but those are the two that come to mind right now.
Yeah, it's a powerful reframe to understand that being an introvert has a lot of upsides, two of which you just named, I think, are very important because those are the two that I think a lot of people think the opposite of with introverts.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't present, we can't speak, we're too fill in the blank. So I definitely appreciate how you reframe that. And it does open up possibilities when you think of it that way. Yeah. So tell me what else you did intentionally different going from one to the other in your career.
When I joined Prezi, I started having regular career chats with my manager. That was really important, that she knew what my goal was. And
did you ask for it? Did you set those up proactively and you said you wanted them?
Yeah.
Love it.
For sure. Much more proactive now, right, in my new role. So yeah, set those up proactively and then made it super clear what my goal was, and always asked along the way, try to get some concrete ideas of, okay, what is expected of a director? What would you need for me to get there? What might be missing? Oh, can you give me feedback on this presentation I gave or this newsletter I wrote promoting my team's work? The thing that was so helpful with these meetings is you never want to be surprised when annual reviews come. When someone says, oh, yeah, you're missing all these skills, or, oh, we haven't been seeing you step up in this way. And so this was my way of being, again, intentional, proactive, and saying, I want the feedback continuously. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything and to be able to iterate along the way. It's such a shame to let a year go by and you're like, oh my gosh, if you would have told me this earlier, I could have worked on it, and now I'm behind a year. And so I think that's another thing that really helped me and also made it known, especially known. That's what I really wanted.
I know. I so appreciate this example that you shared because when I was really looking to get promoted, this is such a reveal of where I was in my mindset. Like low-key, I was jealous of my peers that were getting actively talked about and the ways that their advocates talked about them. And I would wonder if I'm being talked about or who's talking about me and the what were they saying. So that was a thread that was going on for me. And also, I would mention it one time, like we talk about it the yearly, like we do. And then I honestly was my own barrier, Lorraine. Like it felt cringy to me to bring it up more than once or to keep bringing it up. What you're sharing is that let's normalize these conversations, that it's okay. And it's so hard to rewire that. And I just need to put that out there because I do think so many people struggle with advocating and in that meeting. And one, to set it up proactively is phenomenal. And then to keep talking about it feels so against natural instincts.
Yeah, it can be uncomfortable. I think there's a line, right? You don't want to be like every single time you meet with that person, just nonstop, just I want this. But you gotta remind people, if you think about like in your day, imagine you have a team of 5 people and you have your own career to deal with and you have the careers of 5 people to deal with. They tell you something once, like what is the chance that you're going to remember that, right? Like, because we're all busy and then you're dealing with your own career too. And you're managing up with your boss. It's just, there's so much going on. And so those few reminders, think of it as like you're helping your manager help you. I mean, that's a form of managing up, right? Like making sure that your manager knows how to help you versus making them figure out what the next steps are. You can lay it out for them and be really explicit about, are you looking for them to say a certain thing during the promotion talks? Are you needing them to keep an eye out for a certain project that will help you get more visibility? Thinking of it more as like you're helping them help you, I think can help. And that's, again, mindset and reframing.
Yeah, and such practical tips in the book. What have you learned through this process of having finished the book and really promoting it, getting great feedback? I personally loved all of the tips. Like I showed you, for my listeners, I was doing one of the exercises in the book and I shared with Lorraine just how practical it is. And that's something that is important to me when we think about what's a really great book. So what's shifted for you, if anything, just through this whole journey, less about the book, but more for you as a person?
Every quote unquote scary new step I took was such a confidence booster for me. So while I was at LinkedIn, there was some I wasn't like completely lacking confidence, but oh my gosh, if I looked at myself then and compared myself now, like it's just night and day. So then after leaving LinkedIn, it was scary to leave LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a great place to work, and I was happy there, and you're doing cool things. But after I left LinkedIn, I thought, okay, there's risk, right? It could be worse at the next place, but then there's also a chance, because there's risk, that there's a great reward. And so moving to Prezi, I really grew my confidence there as a first-time official manager. I started doing the public speaking thing. I became a LinkedIn learning instructor. I started doing like more podcasts and panels and things like that. So that was like the next phase of my career, I feel like, where I just really just grew so much in confidence. And then I got laid off at the end of 2022. And then starting my own business now, like that was another kind of pivotal moment. Where I, again, gained a lot more confidence, experience, like grew my network. And so I look back on my career, it's just cool to see like you take on new challenges, and that's where the growth happens. And then through the growth, you build the confidence, and then it becomes just more exponential, I think, the farther along you go. So that's been something that I've been really proud of in my career, and I hope it inspires other people too. And he talked about the book, like that was a new thing. I'm just like, can I write this? I don't know. Is this too soon? But I wrote it, and it's getting great feedback. And so now I have the confidence to do like the next big thing.
Lorraine, seriously, I just love this path that you're sharing, because one of the things that I love to say, because it's so true, and I go through my own lived experience and look at all the things that I've gone through, confidence is built in the doing. It's through the experiences that we grow confidence. And as much as I'd love to say, do affirmations and all the meditations, because believe me, I do them too. There's nothing like getting a little dirt on your knees and elbows, a little scraped up, and to have new skin, new confidence. And I love that you're sharing that. Okay, so obviously you have the book. It's such a great book. I can't wait for the listeners to read it. You're also a speaker. You were a former LinkedIn editor. You also write for CNBC and Business Insider. How do you manage your day? Let's talk about this. Do you also have children? Like what's going on?
I don't have children, but I am wanting a family at some point. And so, shout out to all the parents where you're doing amazing stuff too. And I'm just like, and then you have the family, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm so busy now. I think you just get better at time management is what I hear.
It's true. Yes.
Yeah.
I have 3 of them, and I'm a master of my calendar.
Yeah. Okay, you have to be. Otherwise, how are you supposed to manage?
Yeah. And I delegate. I'm really good at that.
Nice. Good. You have to, yeah. So I don't do it all on my own. I have a team of virtual assistants helping me. And I think I have to get better at prioritizing as well. I think with the book, like a lot of people said, just don't do anything else but the book leading up to launch. Like you're going to have to put all your time behind it. But I'm also running a business, and I still need to keep things running and make money. And so I was balancing the two. So last few months have been a really crazy time, but I think I'm trying to now I'm in year 3 of my business, really trying to get more focused, because yes, I do a lot of things, but what are the things that are highest impact? What are the things that I enjoy doing? What are the things that are most recurring or sustainable? So these are all, different things that you have to think about when you run your own business. But yeah, to be honest, right now my days are quite packed. It doesn't leave much room for flexibility. And when I think about a family, I'm like, if I needed to take off an afternoon, that would put me behind. And I'm scaling back certain things and figuring out what's the smartest things to spend my time on. It's a work in progress.
Yes, sister, it is a work in progress. I'm still playing with the progress part. I feel like there's some parts that are better. It's like a weeble wobble. You're like weeble wobble, and sometimes you find center. And there's, I think, no better ride than trying to figure that out. What kids are not. You and I both know Jerry, and Jerry was on a previous episode, and he was talking about fatherhood and the ability for us to lean into that, or motherhood, or whatever you're passionate about when you're an entrepreneur. I guess the question I have is around, has your mindset shifted around being more of an entrepreneur now that you have your own business going on year 3? And how do you define where you are now in your career?
When I started this business, I wanted to at least make as much as I did in corporate and work half the time.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that the dream? And then you realize, I'm working more than corporate, and I'm making less than I did before. So you have to, of course, these things take time, and you have to kind of build it up. But that's what year 3 is for me, is really finding that balance back and getting some of my work-life balance, so to speak, back and just figuring out what that looks like for me. But also starting this business, it was because like, oh, I do want to have a family at some point, and I want to be able to have that flexibility and more control over my schedule. Yeah, I'm very happy doing what I'm doing now. If I needed to go back to corporate or wanted to go back to corporate, I certainly could. I know there's some entrepreneurs who are just like, I can't deal with the boss, but I was always fine in corporate. I enjoyed it. And so, however, right now I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm seeing positive results. I'm continuing to grow and learn. And so now it's just about working a little bit smarter.
Yeah, entrepreneurship is such a roller coaster, and you use that phrase in your book for describing some other situations.
For careers generally, yeah.
Yeah, for a career, I guess that's a good one to describe life. And I remember the first time I was laid off, and I don't know if you share these feelings, but I felt really just ashamed. It was pretty early on in my career, and it was a surprise to me. And I felt like inner critic was so loud. I was so in my cave for a few months, and I just needed to work through that. So when you were laid off, did you bounce right back, or what was that like for you?
It was definitely hard. And thankfully at that point, I think I was 30 already at that point. So, later on in my career, and because I was in tech before, I had the luck and just the good fortune to not have had experienced a layoff because it was doing well up until, a certain point. And so I can imagine like early on in a career, like how traumatizing that can be.
It was traumatizing.
I had friends and family too where that happens earlier on who weren't in tech. But even still, like when I got laid off, like it was really hard. And you're just like, I already did better with Prezi. Like at LinkedIn, I tied a lot of my identity to that. It's good to be proud of your job, but not to tie it entirely. So at least I wasn't so tied to Prezi where I was like, I don't have an identity outside of this because I was doing some stuff on the side.
Yeah.
But it's still very jarring. Your schedule is disrupted, a lot happening, like sadness, anger, confusion, nervousness. It's just, oh my gosh, like how am I going to make money? What am I going to do next? The job market was crazy, like crazy bad when I got laid off. So that was also part of the reason where I was like, maybe I'll just start my own thing and just see how it goes for a year. So yeah, totally resonate with all those emotions. And what I like to say is to feel those emotions and give yourself a little bit of time. I'm not saying you have to take off months, but even a few days, a week. Like I know some people get nervous and they just want to jump back into the job application process, but it can really go a long way. Again, that self-reflecting to think about what do I want and how can I be intentional about my next move. And then to remember that most people say after a layoff, like whatever happens next, usually it's a blessing in disguise and they end up better off. So hopefully that's like a good positive motivating thing if someone's feeling down about the layoff.
Yeah, there are. So all of those feelings were definitely true for me. So I really appreciate that. That's something that you can relate to, because I know a lot of listeners have gone through something similar or know of people that, the marketplace is so crazy. So haven't we all been impacted in some way? And it's such a humanizing experience to be like, yes, it happened and all of the feelings came and I felt that too. And what I want to pull from what you said is to give yourself time, and that a lot of people from fear or insecurity, whatever that is, or anxiousness, do want to take the very first thing that comes. Yeah. And I really want to double down on what you said about, okay, just reflect and be intentional, because that's a muscle that I had to grow through the years of because I like to move fast. And I don't know about you, Lorraine, but you're like, I'm like, what's next? Let's do accomplish. And
yes.
Reflecting and the stopping to pause and go, what did I learn? How do I do it differently? Was not innate to me. So it's something that I had to really build.
Yeah. It's a muscle for sure.
Yes. And the entrepreneurship, so getting under the hood of that, when you say your personal brand, do you say you're an entrepreneur, or how do you identify?
Not really.
I just think that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Like someone actually brought this up to me the other day and they're like, how come you don't, God, what was it for? I forgot what exactly, but they're like, oh, you didn't mention that like you're a founder. And I was like, oh, okay. Is that something that people want to know about? Because I'm like, oh, I'm a speaker, I'm an author and content creator, and I teach too in various organizations. And so that's how I identify. But then I don't know. What do you think? What do you do?
Lorraine, you are such a founder. So yeah, I keep poking at this question because it's been a journey for me too. So when I left corporate officially in 2017, and this 8-year stint that I've been in is the second stint. So the first time I was very much like you, working longer hours and getting paid less. And I was like, what in the world is happening? I was so
Yeah.
angry. And
Yeah.
then, so this time around, I was very intentional and I did it differently, and I will say much better. So that's why I'm on year 8. And it took me a while because I kept looking at the words I was using. I'm
Yeah.
a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm an author, and I'm like, I'm also a founder, I'm a CEO. And that one felt hard to land on.
Yeah.
Is that your journey too?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm just like, of course I'm going to be CEO. Like, I founded the company. Like, it's my company.
But isn't it interesting that we don't lead with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it's been my journey to say it more. Just, yes, I'm the founder. And in this phase, I'm working on another venture, which is very exciting. So I'm much more of like in a, what's that phase that where you're like in a shell, but like percolating things? What's that word? Not hibernating, but you're like
Like incubating.
I'm incubating.
Yes.
Very much. Thank you for giving me that word. Okay, so you say you have some vacations planned. So what's next for you after this incredible book? By the way, did it do what you hoped it would do?
So far, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I think there's still a lot to wait and see because it still is so early. I think that at the time of that we're recording now, I think it's been like just a little over 3 weeks. So far, so good. And I think I was just talking about this with my husband yesterday. Like, it'll be really interesting to see now. Hopefully, it's like word of mouth. And then that's like the next level of the book spreading and being able to help more people. And then maybe that grows the business in a certain way. Or, I don't know, you just get to meet more people and just understand what parts are resonating. And maybe you like lean into more of that in your content. So I like to just keep the door open. Like, I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen without being too prescriptive of, I need to do this next, or I need to do that. I am thinking about like creating a course connected to the book, so that will be exciting, but it's still very early stages. We'll see.
I am in for that course. You need to create one. It would be very powerful.
Okay. That's super helpful to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, because of not only the practicality of it, but your stories, that's what really resonates and jumps. It's so relatable to millions of women, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Lorraine, so how do you define what it means to be a modern Asian female?
I think that it is about really owning who you are and all the special things about you. And if I'm going to tie it back to presence, I feel like presence has really just understanding both sides of the coin, the how and the where, has really allowed me to take ownership, to not let perhaps some stereotypes or preconceived notions dictate what I do, how I show up, where I show up, and yeah, really owning my power, owning my presence, and owning the confidence that comes with that. I think it took me a while to get here. It's not like automatic, immediate, but the more I go through life and the more I hear other people saying that I'm someone perhaps they look up to, I'm still like, when people say that to me, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Me?
Yes,
So
you.
no, I don't take that lightly, and it's very powerful, very special. And yeah, so a long answer, but it's like all these different aspects, and I feel so proud of who I am, how far I've come, and hoping the book will help other people find this journey for themselves as well.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that definition. Your presence is so warm and so authentic. So just sharing some immediate feedback. And thank you for being in conversation with me.
Oh, of course. This was so fun. I'm so glad we got to meet.
Until next time. Wow, wasn't that such a valuable conversation with Lorraine? I was really looking forward to sitting down with her and diving deep into her book, Unforgettable Presence. And quite honestly, it's a book that I wish I had in my mid-career and just career in general as I was navigating ways to be seen and advocate as well. And something that she said really jumped to me. This quote that she says, um, being visible on your terms. And I think that is such a great synopsis of the conversation that we had, which is how can you be visible on your terms? And that starts with knowing your strengths. So, whether you're an introvert, of which She said that she's an introvert, and none of this is a judgment. It really is about knowing and owning your strengths. So, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, or for myself, I'm an ambivert, it's how can you play on your strengths to be visible on your terms? And so reflect on that. So, grab some coffee, grab some tea, go out for a walk, grab paper, and do the work of intentional reflecting if you want your career to be different. You got to put in the work. And here is something that I want you to reflect on as well. This quote that she said, Lorraine said, "Every scary step I took was a confidence builder." And so, what is a scary step that you can take, whether as we, welcome in 2026 or right here now? What is a scary step that you can take? Because ultimately, it will build confidence. It may not feel like it in the moment. And I sure have had moments of doubt in my career and doubting myself and feeling vulnerable. And what I know to be true, as I shared, is that confidence is built through the doing. So, what's a scary step that you can take? And I invite you into that space of honoring the action that you know you need to take, and perhaps you've been putting off. Okay, so reflect on that. So, Lorraine is a speaker and author. Please grab the book Unforgettable Presence. And I also want to share with you that 2026 season of Asian Like Me is going to be so captivating in the conversations I'm bringing forward. And I invite you to rate and I invite you to follow. And please, I invite you to leave a review because it's my mission to get these conversations into the ears and hearts of every woman, every person that wants to feel connected, seen, heard, and best of all, inspired through these real conversations. So do me a favor right now, will you leave a review, rate, and share this episode with two of your friends who can use Lorraine's expertise and get a copy of the book, Unforgettable Presence. Okay. Now, I'm also so excited that behind the scenes, I have been crafting and building the next company that I'm bringing forward to you soon, Ever 10. And it is a community that is about helping women come back home to themselves and create their most considered life. So, Ever 10 is a community that is about the products that I know have worked for me in my career, that I know that I use personally in my life, and that I have recommended to every single client by way of processing, helping them process and helping them get clarity. And so I'm excited to bring this forward to you in 2026. And so stay tuned. And if you want to know more about Ever10, go to www.evr10.com and I welcome you into the community. Until next time.